and Jill on the mic. It's about to get real. Keep it live, that's right. From Pennsylvania to across the globe, it's time for the Steelers All-Star Show.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by all of my co-hosts, Cody, Nick, and Jill from Ohio. Jill, how you doing on this Victory Saturday?
Victory Saturday for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I went to the home opener. It was fabulous. The atmosphere was everything. Go Bucks. We're above 500 right now. We love to see it. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing great. I've decided that Jill is not allowed to not be in attendance for any Pirates games going forward so that we can keep this streak alive. Seems to be the good luck charm there. She'll no longer be Jill from Ohio. She'll be Jill from Pittsburgh. We'll hear the yins are out of her yet. Cody, how are you doing? You got your 7 brew this morning.
I don't have my 7 brew. I did not wake up in time to go get it. It was a late night last night. A lot of stuff happening, and then we also just busy. So not time to go get 7 brew yet, but that's okay. I have enough energy to get through the show. James, how are you?
I'm worried about Char, man. She didn't get a pup cup this morning. This is alarming. This is I'm doing well, man. I'm excited for the day. We're getting closer and closer to the NFL draft. The month of April is here. There's so many good things happening. Cody's going to be at the NFL draft. We're going to be going live for every pick. There's a lot of exciting things right around the corner here. We're going to have to start a GoFundMe for Jill for her to be able to afford all these tickets to all these home games here because that's a lot of games. Exciting times here, though. And we got to hear from Mike McCarthy. So let's get into this. Mike McCarthy, in an interview, did state that both Roman Wilson and Kaleb Johnson are going to get the opportunity of a clean slate. So any past issues, transgressions, whatever, not to be held against them, which is great because you hate to see a couple third-round picks just be washed out before their rookie contracts are over. It seems like a lot of potential with both these guys. What are your takes on this?
It's Easter weekend, so you love to see the slate washed clean. You love to see that for our young bucks on this roster to be able to have a fresh opportunity with a fresh staff, and especially for a guy like Kaleb Johnson who's in the running back room. We've got a lot of offensive line-minded coaches on this team, so to be able to potentially work with them to get a bit of a different perspective on the running back position and to find the holes and to be able to play a little bit more of that same patient style that he sort of played at Iowa back when he was in college. Hopefully he's able to make it. Hopefully all the guys that might have not had the best start to their career can kind of revitalize under this new, more offensively minded coaching staff.
Yeah. I think the big thing for me, the big takeaway isn't the fresh start. It's the fact that the coach came out publicly and said it. Yeah. And that is going to open up I think the sports psychology or the sports psychologist in me from college is thinking about that. And that changes everything about a player's mentality about the year. Like they both could have gone into it thinking, Roman could have been like, I did not get a lot of opportunities last time. And the ones that I didn't do very well. This is going to absolutely reset his hunger level, his drive, everything. So I'm excited to see what happens. But it also kind of makes you question the whole when they might draft a wide receiver thing. So it's impacting a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I still think we'll see receiver draft higher.
Agreed.
It'll definitely be maybe day 1, maybe day 2. Who knows when? But it's going to be in those earlier rounds versus those later, or both. I mean, get as many as you want. It's a lot of depth in this receiver class for this upcoming draft. But I think it's good. I mean, new coaching staff, new vision, and I like that clean slate feel. I do wonder though how much of that is like coach talk and like media talk. He's been around the league, so he might have the verbiage to say to just kind of keep everything even keel, but it still at least sparks hope that there's hope for Wilson and Johnson.
Yeah, I agree with you guys on this. It's not like you expect McCarthy to come out there and be like, these guys are bums, I'm cutting them tomorrow. Obviously that's not going to happen.
Right.
I think it's a great opportunity for Roman Wilson. A little bit tougher path for Kaleb Johnson, just with the two running backs in front of him, and the fact that you typically only feature one at a time on any given play. But we know that there's going to be a lot of 3 wide receiver sets with Mike McCarthy. So if Roman Wilson has a strong preseason, there's a chance he could even beat out a first or second round pick for that number 3 position. Mm-hmm. If he plays well enough this upcoming season and the following season, it's going to be tough for Pittsburgh not to justify trying to retain him, knowing that at that stage in the game, both Michael Peterson and DK Metcalf, they'll both be on the wrong side of 30. Mm-hmm. Right? So why would you move on from Roman Wilson when you got a guy in the room that you can restock with? So it's a fantastic opportunity, I think, more specifically for him to say, hey, refocus. I've got a huge advantage versus any rookie coming in because I've already been here for 2 years. I've already played with these guys. I have a good idea of what's going to go on here. Is the offense going to be different? Sure. But he's already had his hands on a playbook for a few months now. So he's got a big advantage. They got to take advantage of it. That's it. I have not seen any signs from either one of these guys to think that they won't take advantage of this opportunity, and it's a big opportunity for both of them. So I'm excited about that. But just as much as I'm excited for future possibilities of some of our guys, some of our old guys who showed some weaknesses on the field, signing with a division rival, not something I hate to see. Kyle Duggar's a Cincinnati Bengal. How do you guys feel about that one?
Bye.
Sayonara.
Yeah, not too upset about it. I mean, there were some times when Duggar looked all right. He never really sparked that elite level of play that you were hoping to see from him when we made the trade. Obviously, there was a bit of a need there from some attrition we gained in the season last year to bring up a Tomlinism. But, it never really inspired the confidence you wanted to have in your secondary. And to see that go to the Bengals is just such a Bengals move to not have a quality defensive player there. So who knows, maybe they'll finally address it in the draft. But not too afraid of having to go see our guys go up against Duggar next year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think in my mind, this would be a little bit more concerning if we had the same defensive coaching staff, because then it's always like, hey, what are they like? The teams get asked for the details. They ask for the things, and that's not the case here. So I really don't care.
I love it. I love it because he had a couple of good games, and then he seemed like he had a horrific time trying to track the football while it was in the air. He never had any instincts on deflecting it, breaking it up, or picking it off. We saw one game, what was it, against the Browns, where the ball was just floating in the air for seemed like forever, and he just couldn't figure it out, and it was an easy touchdown right over his head.
I think it was the Ravens. I could be wrong.
The Ravens.
No, it was Browns. It was Harold Fannin that caught the.
Oh, you're
touchdown.
right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, in the game that we could have easily won because nobody really scored much. But yeah, I love that for them. Boy, what an organization to really deserve that, especially the way they've treated their players recently. So as much as we've got that going on, then also Patrick Queen decides to switch agencies for his representation going into his final year with Pittsburgh. You have to assume that he's either looking for a contract extension, the possibility of becoming a free agent after this upcoming season, or there were a lot of rumors even the last couple of months of him possibly being traded. Could that still be on the table and maybe a draft day trade where they trade away Patrick Queen and then go get a linebacker in the draft to replace him? Who knows? What do you guys think about PQ getting new representation?
Listen, you know what? I mean, I think it's just him giving himself a safety net and just being prepared for whatever could happen. I mean, we can read into this all we want. I think that looks more like potential trade versus, like, I don't know if that could be draft day. I'd love to see Patty Q stick around and like actually just be hot the whole season. That's what we want, or even just consistent. That's what we talked about a lot last season, is how he was so hot and cold. And what we need in the linebacker room is consistency. Like we need that every down guy, and he would just either play to the max or he just would be a mess. And so I think going with this new agency is just setting him up for whatever that could look like, especially with this season being kind of like it's do or die if you want to stay here. So I think it's smart.
And
But
I don't know how much of this was CYA or making excuses or whatnot, but there was a post somewhere that said he was playing through injury all of last year. So hopefully that means that he's a little further removed from that and had some time to rehab from that, and he's able to return back to that level of play that we saw when he was with the Ravens. I believe also shout out Steelers Depot that they had mentioned that he may have had the same agent since his LSU days. So this could be a fresh start for him. They also highlighted the potential rumors still floating around of a lot of interest in him from Dallas. So potentially keep an eye on what Jerry Jones says over the next few days, although most of what comes out of his mouth is a little interesting. So just keep an eye on those things, and we'll see what movements happen, whether that's on draft day, before or after, especially if we are able to go out and get one of these very athletic linebackers in the draft. Seems to be one of the deeper rooms in the draft this year. So if we can find a quality replacement to trot out there in the early rounds of the draft, we've got the capital. We've got a lot of third-round picks. That seems to be a pretty solid sweet spot if we don't address it earlier. So we love Patty Q here. We want to see him return to that form. But if he doesn't, and it makes the most sense for both parties, or even just for the Steelers to move on from Patty Q, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think the only way we see this trade happen is if it does happen on draft day, because I think Pittsburgh's going to really kind of feel out the room to see what interest there actually is in him and what they could potentially get. And then obviously you want to make sure that if you're going to trade him away, they have the security blanket of Cole Holcomb on a 2-year deal. And so he can come in and play if he needs to as a starter. But again, with that knee injury, we haven't seen a whole lot of him since then. And that was a very serious knee injury.
and don't we still have Harrison?
We still have Harrison, although that's not giving me any kind of comfort level. But I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen on draft day, because they're going to want to ensure that they either already got their guy or they can get him with the trade that they're making.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, I think this is one of those things that, a team has certain guys that they're targeting in the draft. If the guys go earlier than they expected and they don't get an opportunity to get one of their guys, they might want to look at other teams and who can you trade for. If Patrick Queen's available, that's when it makes sense. So I would expect it day 1 or day 2 if it's going to happen, not day 3. I don't think it would be something that would be very relevant at that point in time. But then that would push linebacker up the priority list for Pittsburgh. So you have to feel like if this is something they're strongly considering, they're probably thinking about middle linebacker earlier than we are thinking they're thinking about it.
The one thing I will say is that Omar Khan is also not afraid to make trades during the season. We saw the Deontay Johnson, Dante Jackson trade a couple years back. Not that that's to the same caliber of player as Patrick Queen is supposed to be, and emphasis on the supposed to. But he's not afraid to go out in the season and go player for player and maybe get another pick on top of it. So I wouldn't put that out of the realm of possibility. I'd just say it's less likely than the other scenarios we've already discussed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it could be an exciting thing to keep in the back of your mind during the draft, especially those first couple of days. Another thing draft related here, Kirk Cousins signs with the Raiders, gets a 1-year, $20 million deal. And every indication is they're still interested in Fernando Mendoza. They always wanted to have a veteran in front of him. Kirk Cousins, a very seasoned veteran, but that does mean only one landing spot really left for Aaron Rodgers, and that's our Steelers. I don't think that surprises anyone in that, but any takes on this, you guys? I felt like there was a big sense of relief from this group when Cousins was finally off the table.
Because we all would have had a collective crash out if he was coming to us. Collectively.
I mean, Congratulations to Kirk O'Chains. I mean, he's, I believe, now second behind Matthew Stafford in career earnings at this point in time, which is ahead of Tom Brady, and he's won one playoff game in his entire career. So good for Kirk. His agent should be teach the master class on being a football agent. But very, very glad for him. Very glad for the Raiders. Very glad for Fernando Mendoza, who now gets to sit behind a veteran for a little while and develop instead of being thrown into the fire like we've seen with a lot of other first-round quarterbacks in recent years. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Cam Ward, just kind of getting thrown to the flames. But Brady and the brass at the Raiders seem to know what to do with the quarterback to be able to let him have the best shot. And I think that's going to be good for that young man, and nothing but the best for him. He's a man of faith. And we love to see men like that thrive in the NFL. Hopefully he doesn't come out looking too much like Max Crosby now that he's down there. The memes are immaculate of Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza getting like the Max Crosby beard and tattoos and everything. But yeah, no, nothing. I love the move for the Raiders. I love the move for the Steelers because now we don't have to worry about Kirk O'Chains.
I don't think I was ever afraid of Kirk. I don't think he was ever going to come. I don't think that was ever an option. But I'm at the point where I'm already over the waiting for Aaron. I'm already over it. Like, I want this team to move forward with either Will Howard knowing that he's going to be the guy and focus on that and train him and prepare him mentally for that this year and this offseason, or Aaron say, hey, I'm coming back. Let me start working with my guys again. Let me start working with Will. Let me start working with the new receiver, Let me start working with Pittman. Let me start working again with DK. Let's get Roman Wilson in the building. There's a lot of missed opportunity in the offseason that we used to see. Ben would bring the offensive lineman with him to do stuff in the summertime. And I know we're not quite to summer yet, but there's missed opportunities in my mind from waiting so long, but that's beside the point.
Kirk O'Chains getting the bag again. Love this dude. This dude should have a 99 finesse rating in Madden because he's finessing all these teams for as much cash as humanly possible. So love what he's been able to do late into his career here. Doesn't seem like there's much left in the arm, and there's even less left in those legs, unfortunately, for Kirk. But that's not the key. The key here for him going to Oakland is what's left in his mind. As long as that's still sharp, he can really help bring along Fernando Mendoza, and I think that's a wonderful thing for a young talent like that. Fernando seems like he's got all the tools to be one of the great ones. So I love it that he gets an opportunity to be behind a guy that's had so much success in the NFL. Has he been a good playoff guy? You're absolutely right, Nick. He has not been. He's not even been a good guy on like prime time. But he's had a ton of success outside of that, and you could get a lot worse teachers, I think, than Kirk O'Chains. Anybody have anything else you want to talk about before I take the spotlight and put it on myself for my mock draft 2.0?
I did actually think of one thing. I don't know how many of you watch Cam Hayward's podcast, but his brother Connor appeared on. And Cam is hoping that they'll once again play for the same team when hopefully they both make the Pro Bowl. So we love that Cam has designs on the Pro Bowl. Not so sure about Connor being able to crack that roster with the other tight ends in the room in Las Vegas. Speaking of going to the Raiders. But just wanted to throw that out there. What are your guys' thoughts on the Hayward brothers to the Pro Bowl?
Well, with how much I, at this point, feel like I want to petition the Pro Bowl, because what does it actually mean? Like, who of relevance goes? I mean, if Connor's going to go, then I feel like Cam's just like, well, yeah, I guess I can too. That's fine. Like, Cam's like, I'm a shoo-in for the most part. Hopefully he has the spectacular season like he did last season. But I'm just like, all right, if Connor got into the Pro Bowl, yikes. But
we'd have some questions about the legitimacy, which we already do.
Right. I was going to say, like, we watched that with quarterbacks this past Pro Bowl. And I was like, and who watches the Pro Bowl anymore? It just has no merit to it. So, I mean, for like kicks and gigs, I get the sentiment behind it, the like family vibes behind it. But on a serious note, I'm like, no, that's ridiculous.
I still think it's sad that they took a flag football game more seriously than the Pro Bowl, but whatever.
I get it. I get it. Hey, special teamers are people too, guys, and I think that's the pathway for Connor. He has had moments of brilliance on kick and punt coverage units, getting a lot of tackles. If he excels in that category again, maybe he can get his way in there as a special teams guy, at which point the special teams guys don't really back out. So if you make it there as a special teams ace, all right, man, you beat out our guys. I mean, we got some serious special teamers. Skoranek made that with true grit, and if he didn't go, I think then Carson Bruner would have made it behind him. So you got some real competition when it comes to that, but I think that's his best path, not necessarily as the tight end. I'm understanding they are explaining to Connor he's expected to be used way more as a fullback than a tight end, which is probably a better role for him.
Yeah.
My advice, Connor, because I know you listen to the show, get your eating up, buddy. Lift heavy. Go for bulk. Get another 10 pounds on your body before the season starts. That way those collisions go a little bit more favorably for you, because I think the heart's there. I think the desire is there. I think he just needs to get a little more bulk to him and then start blowing some people up. Connor, you've been nothing but a good dude as a Steeler. I hope to see you successful as a Raider and whatever else you do as well.
And go for that fullback position on the Pro Bowl roster, because if this podcast has anything to say about it, we're drafting Wetjen, and he's taking that special team spot from you. So speaking of drafts, I think before we do that, I know that my favorite place to watch the draft is the Edinburgh Hotel Bar, other than James's house, where I will probably also be at.
Better cell phone reception in my house, unfortunately. But supporters of Steelers by the Lake podcast include the Edinburgh Hotel Bar, serving a variety of lunch and dinner items every day from their location at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh. Information is available at 814-734-5103 or online at edinburghhotelbar.com. The Edinburgh Hotel Bar, where you had me at hotel.
They definitely had me rolling on the floor on April Fool's Day when they posted a joke saying that they were now offering childcare services, which my wife fell for. But it was they got the jokes at the Edinburgh Hotel Bar, and if you're ever out there for a trivia night, it's usually a good time on Wednesday nights. So stop on by, tell Pat we sent you.
All right, James.
It's time, folks. It's time. I put a lot of work into this one. I had a different strategy going into it. I want to bring some new names to you. So this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers first draft in the 2026 NFL draft, I say the Steelers are going to select Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo. I feel very strongly that this draft class has 3 elite prospects at the safety position, and he's the number 3 guy. If you can't get the first 2, Kaleb Downs or my previous pick, the Oregon kid here, Thieneman. If you can't get one of those 2 guys, Emmanuel McNeil Warren is your next best guy, and this is a highly skilled guy. He's a tower. He's 6'3" and 4/8, 201 pounds, just flies to the ball. He's one of those dudes that will sell out for a pass breakup, and he's also a guy who covers an insane amount of ground when in coverage. So just has range for days. At that size, he ran a 4.5, 240-yard dash, which is really good for a guy that big. And his turnover skills are what really spoke to me, right? So in 3 years as a starter, we've talking about 9 forced fumbles and 5 interceptions. That is a guy that just knows where the ball is going to be and gets it out. Forcing that many fumbles from the safety position is kind of a rare thing. And here you see him jumping on the ball after a forced fumble. So just the ball skills, the range, the size, it's everything that you're looking for in a safety. So if the other 2 guys are not options, to me, it's not really a consolation prize to get Emmanuel McNeil Warren because he was going to be the number 2 guy before Thieneman tore up the combine, and everybody said, "Oh my God, how can you not put this 4.35 40 guy at the number 2 spot?" So just an elite level safety prospect. In my estimation, you got to get one of these 3 in this class, and this is the one that I think is the most likely to still be available at number 21.
Yeah. I mean, I love the pick. I love the idea, even with the last pick, the last draft you did of Dylan Thieneman. Having that elite safety is something we've been missing out on. Obviously, Minka had a couple years where in that first year really with us, he had a couple interceptions. And then everyone fell in love with him and kind of just loved him no matter what the play was like. I mean, he wasn't a complete fall off, but he didn't play as well as we would have expected. I will love to get another safety come in and just be a game changer, a game wrecker, forcing turnovers, another guy that can be, Palomalu-esque. He probably won't have the same football IQ in the sense of jumping the snap and stuff, nor will our defensive coordinator probably let him like Dick LeBeau did. But I'm very excited to have another top tier safety on the team.
Well, we've talked a lot about the turnover culture that is embedded in Steeler defense. And so to see him like actively trying to punch the ball out when the receiver has it and creating those turnovers, looking for those interceptions, I mean, that's right up Pittsburgh's alley. So again, we've talked about the depth of this safety class and just how elite they are. And with question marks of not this season, but next season at the safety position, I think this is a great pick.
I like to call this, very much pun intended, the safety blanket pick, because going with McNeil Warren here, he should by all means be available. It's a quality player guy at a position that we've been looking to improve in for quite some time now. So with him most likely being there, if all other options are exhausted, this is not one that you would feel bad about putting the pick in, even if there were other players available. But it's highly unlikely that he's going to be off the board this early because, as James mentioned, there's 2 other high-quality guys that are here and not very many teams going after a safety this early. Mm-hmm. That's why usually one of these guys falls into the early second round, because people then are like, okay, we had a larger need, now let's go after our secondary need in the second round kind of situation. And there's a couple of teams that might be safety needy that don't have their first round pick this year as well. So this enables you to be able to go out and get a guy who's going to be a contributor, who's going to be a high level of play, doesn't have the same injury concerns as some of the other guys that are already in the room. So you might even see him as a rotational piece early on, or he may be thrust into a starting role if, unfortunately, we face that attrition that we often heard about in the Tomlinisms for quite some time, with some guys who have some pre-existing injury concerns. So a really solid pick, one that you never would feel bad about running in, and that you can pretty much guarantee will be available to you if you would rather go another way, but can't because somebody jumped you or is already ahead of you that took a guy that you were hoping to get.
So that gets safety out of the way for me, which I feel like is a pretty strong importance in this draft class. It's a really good class. You got 3 elite guys, and then you got a really good cluster of like second to third, maybe even early 4th round guys who are going to be quality starters most likely in the NFL. I just wanted to take advantage, try to get one of these elite guys here. In the second round, I'm attacking a position that's not going to surprise too many people that have listened to the show or watched on a regular basis. I'm going to the guard position because I feel like we can do better than what we've got on the roster right now at that left guard position, which is a big question mark right now. Brock Hoffman, Spencer Anderson, which way do we go? Neither one of them. We're going to Georgia Tech. We're taking Keelan Rutledge, who's a 6'4", 316-pound mauler of a man, 33 1/4-inch long arms. He ran his 40-yard dash in 5:05, which is really quick for a guy that's so big. Just a nasty finisher in the run game. Very stout in his pass protection as well. And a guy that's going to be a tone setter for that offensive line. I'd love to see another bookend type dude. I feel like if you've got him on one side and then you've got on the other side Mason McCormick, you got a couple of guys who really can block. They can move and pulling. They can hold their own against big, massive defensive tackles, which is an important thing because Pittsburgh sees a lot of that. But here we go. I think he's a plug-and-play guy, and I think he beats out everybody on the roster immediately and wins that left guard position right out of the gate.
Yeah, position of need, targeted early. The guy's very big, knows how to use his body, which sometimes big guys don't know how to do. And so exciting to see another guy come in and potentially be day one starter and have immediate impact on the game, the running game, the passing game, all of it. And again, that pulling guard is something that we've loved so much in the past with, Alan Faneca, David DeCastro. Would love to see another guy able to strike fear in the eyes of those guys on the outside when they see him pulling. So I love the pick.
Yeah, I'm liking watching the way that he moves. It's always with purpose, and there's not a wasted step. So that's something that you can definitely count on, as Cody mentioned, especially in that pulling guard role, to be able to move effectively and efficiently, and to get to your spot before the defender is, to be able to get that extra leverage in there to be able to be set and ready for them when they're coming at you or when you're coming at them. So really like the way he moves, and I'm hoping if we can get him that he's able to do the same thing at the NFL level that he did in college.
Mm-hmm. What I like about him is that he finishes his drives. So like in a couple of those, in a couple of these highlights that we're watching, it's like the ball, like where the play is happening is not where he's at, but he doesn't just like push his guy and then stop. Like I just went where it was like he was trying to get him and he kept pushing him over, even though the play is happening on the other end of the field. He still is finishing that drive. He's not letting his assignment go out. So I really like that. That's going to bring great force to that offensive line. And it's a glaring need. So
I think this dude has a lot in common with people like myself, where we love pancakes, man. This dude loves to pancake people. You're seeing it over and over in these highlights if you're watching on YouTube. A pancake master. So forget Waffle House. This dude's just shutting it down with all the pancakes here. So let's go on to the third round here. My first pick in the third round, number 76 overall. We're going to a similar college that I've gone to previously here in Washington. No, I'm not repeating with Ephesians Prysock. I'm taking his teammate Takario Davis this time. Also has come to Pittsburgh on a pre-draft visit. Also looks like a pterodactyl with this 6'3" and 7/8 tall. He's 194 pounds, 33 and 7/8 inch long. Arms almost 34 inches there. He ran a 4.4 140. So the dude's got tons of speed, even faster than his teammate. A 1.59 10-yard split with a 37-inch vertical, a 10-foot 3-inch broad. He can jump out of the gym. The coverage skills are there. And he's a dude that would push for a starting job pretty early on in his career. You might have a tough time keeping him off of the field. And I love here you're seeing some highlights. That was against Michigan that looked like on a wide receiver screen. His just reaction time and ability to close in on that offensive player, he got there in no time, man. So I love the idea of a possible future starter capable guy in the third round here who would probably make a serious impact on special teams day one and make you wonder how many years of that 3-year contract you want Jamel Dean around for.
Yeah, I like to call these guys the Batman and Robin of the corners this year. Just both very similar builds for these guys, similar athleticism, and this seems to be the guy with the slight edge on Ephesians Pricelock. He seems to be going a little bit higher. So to be able to get that quality of a corner in the third round, he's not something I'm going to turn my nose up at by any means. I'm a little salty as the pretzel of this this crew here, because I was hoping to be able to be the guy to take him first. So we'll see if I do take him in my final mock. But love how the great minds think alike there, James.
Well, I like it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say it looks like he has some slot safety alignment too. So having that versatile piece with our secondary where he can kind of be in both, like play both, like corner, kind of like what we were hoping for with Ramsey that didn't exactly work out as well as we had hoped. But man, those arms, that pterodactyl was a great analogy because those arms are long which is great. Again, as we talk about turnover culture, like getting those arms up and being able to break up passes. Not only that, but he's willing to tackle and willing to like be aggressive when he is on the field. So I love to see that.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is just getting another big guy. I mean, 6'4" is just a massive, massive corner. And with that combined with the speed, you can even get in situations that somebody beats you or you allowed somebody to get behind you, but you're still not out of the play. And obviously, we've talked about the success Joey Porter Jr. has had. Getting him a number 2 guy is going to only help his success, because you can't just not throw his way anymore, because both sides are getting shut down. Excited to have a potential guy come in and have a potential immediate impact, obviously special teams, and even year one getting some rotation in, whether at outside corner or the slot if need be. I mean, this is a guy that's not going to allow any tight end to get a mismatch if you ever wind up having him on a tight end. So would love to see him come in and be a Steelers, and excited for another potential corner.
Absolutely. And we're in a similar situation to my first mock draft, where at this stage in the game, there's probably a few people that are real upset with me again for not addressing a very specific position of need yet in the draft. So my second pick in the 3rd round at number 85 overall, I'm going to the wide receiver room. Calm down, folks. Here it is. Here's your wide receiver out of Kentucky. We're taking Kendrick Law. Kendrick Law is a very, very versatile wide receiver. 5'11" and 3/8, 203 pounds. He's well put together. A 4.45 40-yard dash, so very good speed. A 1.53 10-yard split, so good explosiveness off the line of scrimmage. As you're seeing from this still image of him, if you're on YouTube, 21 reps on the bench. The kid is strong. Well put together. A 42-inch vertical leap is just mind-blowing. A 10'8" broad shows extreme explosiveness out of this guy. So a playmaker, a guy who's got requisite size, even though he's not super tall, but about as close to 6 foot as you can get without being 6 foot. Kind of falls right in line with the prototypical size and frame of what Mike McCarthy likes to draft in a wide receiver. I see Jill shaking her head because we both love listening to Steelers Depot, so you get some of this great information from these guys. They did a study on it, and the average size of a wide receiver that he drafts is like 6'1", 203. So this guy's just barely under 6 foot. He's 203. He's got better speed than an average guy. Good explosiveness. I think he could compete day one for that slot job with Roman Wilson, and you have one heck of a competition between the two of them. So I like the versatility here. Some very good athleticism, and clearly some good strength too to handle getting hit by 2 guys like that and stay on your feet at the same time. So I would think he would be a very exciting addition to the team.
I really like his low drop rate. That is something I feel like is, I mean, at receiver, you don't want your receivers to drop the ball that's thrown their way. But, you know, we talk about with DK where he's kind of like 50-50 with those hands. Like, we know what we're getting in him. He is a big dude, but he is not always the most efficient or the most consistent. And so to get somebody like Kendrick Law, who is very consistent at catching and has a very low drop rate, I love to see it. And he also did he's a pre-draft visit, right? So
yep.
Out of all the receivers that, you know, people are like mocking and talking about potentially coming to the Steelers, I feel it's very likely that we could see him in the black and yellow.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is the size and the speed. I mean, it's been a long time. Every team, it's not like I'm not taking away from the Steelers Depot talking about Mike McCarthy drafting people, but every team wants that one little fast guy, at least one little fast guy. And we haven't had a good quality speedster like this since AB. Calvin Austin was supposed to be the guy. He hasn't kind of been that yet. We had Deontay Johnson, who had, you know, a year and a half that was pretty decent, and then all of a sudden he liked running backwards. This is a guy that might come in and change that, and we might have somebody that can make some plays again. So very excited to see what could happen with him coming in. Then I also think, does he have any kick return or anything?
I'm not sure if he does, to be honest with you. I didn't dive into his return career. But you would have to feel a guy of that size would be able to handle the duties. He's definitely got the explosiveness and above average strength for a wide receiver in the upper body too. 21 reps on the bench is a very impressive performance for a wide receiver.
Yeah. So in 2 years, 3 years at Bama, 1 year at Kentucky, 32 kickoff returns for 710 yards. 52 was his longest. So there's some potential there.
Yeah, another guy at least is an option that you can throw back there. Another way for him to get himself on the field and prove what he can do.
I guess I just asked that question. Then here we go.
The very next clip on our highlight reel.
You love to see the kick return chops, especially in a guy that you're taking to potentially be a wide receiver 3, challenge Roman Wilson for the job. Get your starting running backs off of that return duty so that they're not facing any extra attrition there, especially with full-grown men running full speed at them at that point in time. But I like what Jill said about the low drop rates. Hopefully he can help DK lower his drop rates, and maybe DK can share some of his giant bags of candy he eats before every game with Kendrick Law, get him juiced up for the games. But you like to see a guy that McCarthy is comfortable with the physicality of, because if the player fits the mold of the scheme, then it just seems to naturally fit a little bit better. So hopefully that will go well for him if we do end up taking him. I would love to see a pick like this in the 3rd round, and to calm down all those people who were nervous about James not taking a receiver at this point.
Well, and there's so much you listen to all the different podcasts and all the people talking about receiver, and they're like, it needs to be in the 1st and the 2nd. And honestly, the depth is so great here that I feel like you can wait till round 3 and you're still getting quality picks. Now, granted, on actual draft day, all of this could be thrown out the window and they're drafting in whatever order they want. But I feel like, yes, we need a receiver, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, it has to be round 1, because we need a guard. We need safety. Like, we're needing these other things too. So,
well, to our earlier conversation about Roman Wilson getting a clean slate, we've got Roman Wilson still on the roster, and we bringing in DK, or bringing in Pittman and already having DK sort of lessens the need to go early rounds towards receiver. And I think that's a huge thing for some of these guys, is like, and I mean, even to kind of touch base on the Roman again, if he does have a great season, it's a great season as a wide receiver 3. So then Pittsburgh doesn't have to pay him wide receiver 2 money to be able to keep him potentially. So then if that works out, great. Then we're like, people who are clamoring for a receiver now will be like, oh, I guess we didn't, so then why are you investing that early round pick if you've got this guy already on your roster who's going to work out? So there's options available. And like you said, Jill, it's a deeper class of receiver. There's not as much like 1st round upper echelon talent. There's like 2-3 guys that are worth it. One of them's got major injury concerns. So it's like, where do you allow that to come in? Because it's not, there's probably going to be 1, maybe 2 guys available in round 1 that you're like, okay, that's a round 1 guy. After that, it's like, just wait.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you guys more on this. I feel like this is a great class of wide receivers to pick up your number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, but not really to pick up your future number 1. That's just not what this class is. Now, some of those dudes you get in the 2nd and 3rd round might develop into that. But the elite guy that's like 6'3", 215, ran a 4.37, jumping out of the gym, doesn't ever drop the ball, that's just not in this class. Not in the 1st round anyway. So why not wait, get your elite guys at other positions, not overreach for a position who's going to be your number 3 guy at that position anyway. So that's my line of thinking. I really was going into this draft before the Pittman trade thinking Pittsburgh had to take a wide receiver in the 1st or 2nd round. The second they signed Pittman, I said, well, let's dial that back a little bit. I don't think you really need to do that anymore, as you saw in both of my drafts. Moving on here to my 3rd pick in the 3rd round, which will be number 99 overall. Nick, you were talking about bags of candy being shared throughout the room. Some people use that for energy. Some people use energy drinks like this orange flavored Alani here. I can't stay away from Orange. I can't stay away from
Oh
Orange.
my gosh, we knew it.
Dominic Orange is
Let's go.
the defensive tackle out of Iowa State. He's my first repeat. I wanted to go creative and do something else, but he was there again, and I can't pass him up. This man is just immovable in his run defense, and in a team that has had such struggles defending the run, you want it to be more consistent. You need another piece in that front room. Cam Hayward can't play for forever. This is going to be your next guy that you can plug and play in the middle of this defense. He can get after the quarterback a little bit, but his run defense is elite. His ability to just get rid of dudes and throw them to the side. 6'2", 322, 33 and 7/8 inch long arms, which is really good for an interior defensive lineman. For me, it's all about the stack and shed with this guy. His ability to just push his offensive lineman back and throw him to one side or the other and go get the tackle while always keeping his eyes on the ball carrier.
Yes.
That's everything. Guys can stack and shed and then have no clue where the ball carrier is. He always seems to know exactly where the ball carrier is when he's doing this. So just a nose for the ball carrier in the run defense, a penetrator, a stack and shed monster. He's just an impact guy day one. And this is the kind of guy that gets Patrick Queen paid. When you have him in the front line, Patrick Queen stays clean, and he can go run and chase and make his tackles like he's trying to do without having to defend a guard trying to rip his face off first. That guard just got his butt kicked by Dominic Orange. So that's why I love a guy like this. I think you've got a good number of high-end nose tackle types who can also get after the quarterback a little bit. And I think it's a great class to get them because a lot of these dudes have some really good length too. So let's grab one of those guys. This is one of the better ones in the class. And because he doesn't have elite sack numbers, he's available in that third round. So I'm jumping on him. I think he's a difference maker day one. And I love having him and Y.A. Black in the second unit year one on that defensive line. You feel like you don't even have a drop off at that point.
He's literally built and has the drive of a Pittsburgh Steeler. I would love to see Dominic Orange in the black and yellow. Probably one of the bigger guys we've had since Casey Hampton. And again, just a guy that really allows that defensive line room to just smoothly transition into the next generation of guys without having to be worried about what happens. So very exciting for the potential with Dominic Orange.
Yeah. And I think what you said, James, was what I was thinking when I'm watching the highlights. His biggest upside is that he keeps his eyes where the ball is at. It's where, like, watching where the play is happening and make sure, like, he does his job, but then will fight to continue to where the ball is at. And that is just something that is so impressive. And what makes us the steel curtain, like, you can't get through. I'm going to make sure I'm doing my job and more potentially to not gain any yards. I love it.
I'm really high on Big Citrus, and the part that I want to highlight of what you said there, James, is how he elevates the play of other players on the defense because he eliminates the need for them to have to clean up missed assignments on the offensive linemen, on blocking tight ends, on things of those lines. He eats up those blocks, oftentimes defeats them and gets up to the next level anyway. Not really an elite numbers on the sack kind of guy, but you get him in this defense with some of these veteran guys who might be able to coach a little bit of that up, and he might even get some of that upside as well. So he doesn't need that because the way he plays is finish the assignment, keep my guys clean, and that's enough. And if he can continue to do that at the NFL level as well, and if he can continue to potentially even elevate that play, hopefully it's only an upward trajectory for Big Citrus. And would love to have him in the third round, especially elite nickname.
Yeah, it is. So big nicknames, big guys. I want to keep it there for my next pick. We're going into the fourth round. My first pick in the fourth round, another pre-draft visitor. I know you're getting sick of me saying this, but if you want to have some kind of indication of who Pittsburgh's interested in, the pre-draft list is a very important one to look at. I'm going offensive tackle out of Memphis, Travis Burke. Just got reported as someone who's being brought in for a top 30 visit. Does he look really, really big in this picture? Yes, that's because he is. He's 6'8" and 6'8", 325 pounds, 34.25-inch long arms. Oh, he's probably a slow guy, right? Nope, 5:01 40-yard dash. So a very athletic dude. Got a little bit of nasty in him as you see him throw a defender to the ground there in his pass blocking skills. So you might need to pack a little bit more weight on him. I'm guessing 325 on that 6'8" frame is probably going to look a little bit skinny in the NFL. But the way you see him blocking his aggressiveness, his nastiness of getting somebody to the ground tells me that he's probably a guy that's worked real hard in the weight room. A nice pancake on the backside of a play there where it doesn't even matter anymore. Just another boy that loves pancakes. Give me all the pancake guys in Pittsburgh, man. Especially on this O-line. I can't get enough of guys with that kind of mentality and that kind of physicality. So I would love to see him in black and gold. And you might have some competition for Broderick Jones after this upcoming season. Do you go this route, or do you go and try and turn him into your left tackle of the future? I don't know, but it's a huge lump of clay with really good measurables and a really good starting foundation of where he is as a player right now.
If you're audio only, you heard me just make a very strange noise. And that was because I just watched this guy throw a grown man several feet. This guy is a mauler, and if he's got that kind of toughness with all the O-line coaches we've got on this team, I have zero doubt that he'd be able to develop. The measurables are there. You can teach technique, you can't teach size. Right. So seeing him be able to do that, seeing that James is right, this guy should be able to bulk up further, and if he can put on the right kind of weight, he's only going to get more nasty.
Something tells me that number 78 looks good in the black and gold, especially when they're very tall on the edge of the line. I don't know where I would get that information from, but
wild take, Cody.
the thing that I want to say about this guy is, if you get any kind of top tier offensive lineman in that guard position, and then this guy comes in later, I mean, this is immediately an offensive line that gets talked about as one of the greatest in the NFL, if not in Steelers history, in my mind, because people used to hate playing us when we had, Alejandro Villanueva, Marquise Pouncey. I mean, these guys were nasty. David DeCastro. And this guy immediately comes in with the same mentality, the same level of drive that we just want. I mean, there's a couple plays here where the play is, like Jill said earlier about your first offensive lineman. This guy is playing through the whistle, playing through the end of the play. No matter where the play went, he's still on his guy, and he is tormenting that guy. He chased one guy out of bounds in one of these clips that we've been watching. So a guy that I think can come in and really not only be a mauler on the line and just destroy some defensive linemen, some linebackers, even some corners if that's needed. But also he's gonna let these guys not want to take the next snap. He's gonna make some guys need a rest. So love it.
Well, and I liked how well he utilized his hands in those highlights of trying to distract a defender thinking he was going for him, but then bullying the guy that was actually in front of him. Like, that's just smart football play. To no, I got this guy right here. I'm going to pretend that I'm coming after you. And that stopped him in his tracks. And then that saved the play where his quarterback could make the throw. So that was awesome.
Yeah. So welcome to Pittsburgh. We'll take him in a heartbeat, I think. Continuing in the fourth round, I'm going to have a guy here that I talked about after the East-West Shrine Bowl. I thought he had a really good performance in the East-West Shrine Bowl. So someone that if I told you, hey, Pittsburgh's had a little bit of luck going to Wisconsin. They've had a lot of luck going edge rushers from Wisconsin with both TJ Watt and Nick Herbig being from there. Let's add Mason Rieger to that list. Edge rusher from Wisconsin. Stop me if you've heard this before. 6'4" and 5/8", 251 pounds, 32 and 5/8 on the arm length, which is not too bad for an outside linebacker. Not the most explosive dude on his 40-yard dash, is 4.79 40 and a 1.61 10-yard split. But as a 250-pound linebacker, he had a 40-inch vertical leap and a 10-foot 5-inch broad, which tells me elite in that first couple steps and that explosiveness out of his stance to beat that tackle up the edge. He had 3 sacks in the East-West Shrine Bowl in an all-star game against your best college talent that doesn't go to the Senior Bowl. Typically, guys expected to be third round and later picks in the NFL, and he dominated the game. He was the best defensive player in the game. His college tape shows something very similar to that. So I think he would be an awesome addition to the team. I feel like Pittsburgh's going to have some very tough decisions to make in the next couple of years. Well, what way do they go? Do they extend Nick Herbig? Do they let him move on? Do they trade him? Do they trade one of the other 2 guys and roll with Nick Herbig? There's going to be a decision that has to be made. And when you make that decision, why not have the other guy in the room already that you're bringing up to be the next top tier backup outside linebacker that could maybe even start 3 years down the road? Mm-hmm. So that's my thought with Rieger here, is not necessarily that you need him game 1, week 1, but I think he'd probably be an asset on special teams. And if you had to get in a situation where you send him out there because everybody's exhausted from a long drive, he's going to get after the quarterback for you, and that's what you really need.
Yeah. The tape speaks for itself. If you're watching on YouTube, the guy is an absolute animal. The guy's quick. That first step is insanely fast. And the benefit of that is if you have a quick first step, you know, if you're not the fastest or the strongest, obviously you talked about his 40-yard dash. But that first step can come as a surprise to people sometimes. And so that first step gives him the leverage he needs to beat some of these guys that maybe if he was not as quick might have a tougher time with, but these guys aren't prepared for it. So I love to see the speed, the agility, and again, they are going to have, there's a lot of guys in that out now. Why not add one more? Because it's going to make things a lot easier later down the road. So.
You know, we often talk about Tomlinisms. Well, a Nickism is draft your players ahead of need. You don't want to be drafting your players when the need arises. You want to be drafting them a year or so ahead of time, be able to have them develop behind your guys, then slide and fit into that role as they're able to and when the need actually arises. So then way you're prepared ahead of time and you're not scrambling to overreach or overdraft or hope that that guy that you drafted works out. Because then if that guy isn't that guy and you found that out already, then you can readdress it again later on. And taking a 4th, 5th round shot at a guy that could fill that role, that can develop behind TJ Watt, behind Alex Highsmith, in the same room as Nick Herbig and Jack Sawyer. You know, that gives you the capability to say, we have options, not, oh, our backs are against the wall. We've got to fill this need. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Go for the Wisconsin edge rusher who's proven that they've been edge rusher you for a little while now. So I love taking a shot. This is one of those mid-round shots that you see the potential in a guy. You give him the chance to develop, and you hope that it works out for the best. And that's a risk I'm willing to take.
Yeah. He's a high-end player, man. A high effort, high end, like doesn't look like he's taking his eye off the play, was able to shed quickly. Why not? You know, exactly what Nick's saying. I mean, we've all been saying that for many, many moons at this point, of drafting ahead of when you need it, because then you're not in the position to have all of this pressure to make the guy the guy. And I think that's what Khan and all of them do best, is addressing the need before we know it's a need for the most part. So.
Yeah, I feel like the roster's finally getting to that stage where, you know, we've got some guys that we've got to fill some positions, no doubt about that, but we're able to start addressing some of the future needs before their immediate needs. And this draft is a lot of that for me. Next pick for me is the 5th round pick, 161st overall in the draft. And I'm going with a guy that there's been a lot of buzz around lately, as being a possible solution for Pittsburgh. You would bring competition to the room that he would go in, Carson Beck. This is a quarterback out of Miami, originally from Georgia, transferred to Miami last year. He's a big dude. Mike McCarthy has made it very clear that he's looking for a quarterback who's an AFC North quarterback, a.k.a. don't give me a little guy who can't throw the ball on a cold, windy day. this is a guy who can definitely throw the ball on a cold, windy day. 6'4.5", 233 pounds. No Kenny Two Gloves situation. This guy's got 10-inch hands. So you're not going to be worried about tiny hands and can he hold on to the ball on a cold, rainy day. Not an issue with a guy like this. So it's the frame that Pittsburgh's looking for, that Mike McCarthy is likely looking for, that would give direct competition to Will Howard. And then it's not just handing the keys to Will Howard and, hey, you're our guy, for better or for worse. We got no other options. Here's some direct competition for him. Maybe you have to roll with 4 quarterbacks for a year before you go on to the next season. I'm okay with that if that's what you have to do to find your guy. What I don't like is not taking any shots at the quarterback position when you don't have your guy right now. Maybe we do. Maybe it's Will Howard. It's a possibility. Is it real likely from a 6th-round pick? No. Is it that it's real likely him being a 5th-round pick here going Carson Beck would be the guy? Not necessarily, but let's take more dart throws. Let's get more guys in the room until we do know what the actual solution is. I think he's one of a short list of guys who fits the profile from a height, weight, size standpoint of what Mike McCarthy would be looking for in a quarterback. So I'll take my shot and say Carson Beck's the guy in the 5th round.
Yeah, Beck is a
Go ahead, Nick.
Beck is a player who was widely touted to be one of the top talents before he got an injury that sort of hampered his arm strength. So he's now 1 year removed from that injury, was able to still, after the transfer, lead Miami back to the bowl game. So, you figure he's still got that talent, even though they weren't able to get it done in the end to Fernando Mendoza's Hoosiers. But they were able to get there, and that shows that he can still play to a level of talent that gets you up to those high intensity game moments. So Beck is a guy that was brought in for a pre-draft visit. Tell me if you've heard that before. McCarthy seems to be pretty high on the guy. There's been some buzz about him to the Steelers for a little while now. And McCarthy also did mention, and who knows how much of this is the smoke and mirrors and the lying season of April in the NFL world. But McCarthy did also say if he had been in coaching in the league last year, Will Howard would not have made it anywhere near the 6th round. So who knows? Maybe he's really that high on him and likes him, but we'll see. And Beck has shown that he can perform in high caliber moments and has that grit to him that we want to see in a Steelers quarterback. So it's worth a dart throw, like James said, especially to bring in at the very least competition for Will Howard. And iron sharpens iron. Maybe they make each other better. And worst case scenario, hopefully you have a good solid backup, and then you don't need to worry about paying Mason Rudolph again.
Yeah. I just think the guy's going to come in and have an immediate, obviously, quarterback competition. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, having competition in that room is the best thing you can do to get the best out of not only the players in there, but then find the best player. And so whether Aaron comes back or not, having a quarterback of this caliber, of this size, of this talent, AFC North balls back in Pittsburgh. Not that Aaron Rodgers wasn't that, but he wasn't the youthfulness that we've seen from him in the past. So I would love to get another guy in there to compete with Will Howard and get the best out of Will or the best out of whoever we bring in. Carson Beck's a great option.
All right. Jill doesn't have anything to add, I don't think.
Oh, right. I'm like, it's all been said, so I just repeating what I said. So.
More than fair. You get first crack at my next guy then. So in the 6th round, at pick 216, I'm going to the team that he just lost to in the national championship, to Indiana. And again, for folks who have been listening to us throughout this pre-draft process, you're not unfamiliar with this name because I've mentioned it multiple times before. I haven't used him in any of my mocks yet, but I've wanted to. Riley Nowakowski, the tight end / fullback from Indiana. I was thoroughly impressed with this dude watching a couple Indiana games this year. He's got the build of a fullback, but he plays a lot in line too. So 6'2", 2/8, 250 pounds, 31.5-inch long arms. He ran a 4.66 40-yard dash. So that's decent speed for a big guy like this. One thing that really jumped out at me when I watched Indiana games this year is when he was involved in the passing game, He fought for every additional yard. When guys hit him, he doesn't just go dead leg and go to the ground. He drives his legs like a running back and fights for every single additional yard that he can get. And I love that. In a tight end, I have to have that. I love it in a running back, but in tight ends, that's one of the things that I think separates Pat Freiermuth from other guys, is that he drives his legs. He's very strong in his lower half. Again, with Darnell Washington, very strong individual, fights for every yard. Whoever the number 3 tight end is this upcoming year better be somebody who fights for every yard. And I would like them to be able to block in line too. You would think with the shorter kind of guy that he is, he might struggle in line. I didn't see it on tape. What I saw of him as a lining in the line tight end was a guy who could pass block, a guy who could get after it in the run game and make some people not really want to line up against him as far as his run blocking capabilities. So I think he's a very well-rounded individual. And if you're going to go smash mouth, here's your fullback. If you want to go 3 tight ends and a single back, okay, then line him up as a tight end. But he can do it all, and I think he's like an upgraded version of Connor Hayward. This is what we were hoping Connor Hayward could develop into. He's already physically more mature, stronger, faster than Connor was, and this is just him coming in as a rookie. So he's my choice here in the lone 6th-round pick.
I like it. I like it a lot. And especially like bringing someone like him into the room that is already built like that, I feel like would be a seamless transition for him. And then we'd be able to see him on the field more. And it would be like an effective and immediate, like put him on the field and go. And so like what you were saying, I like seeing that we're receiving. That's something we want to see in our tight ends, and the blocking, which is great. Really what you want in a well-rounded tight end. So, and especially with a Mike McCarthy offense, we need a tight end who's more to this caliber versus somebody who's just receiving or just a blocking. We need somebody that can do it both.
Yeah, I mean, I think this guy comes in and immediately helps the run game for the fact that we haven't had a genuine blocking tight end or fullback since who? I mean,
Rosie Nix.
Rosie Nix. And everyone remembers the infamous first down from him. So I don't know, or phantom first down. I love the pick. I love the versatility. I think he'd also be able to come in and have a potential impact on special teams. Mm-hmm. The guy even the thing that I saw in the highlights, if you're watching on YouTube, he's fast. Like he's quick for the size that he is. So not only the fighting for yards, but he's also quick, can make people miss, agile, strong. I mean, he's everything you would possibly want out of a fullback, a leading fullback, or a rusher out of the fullback position, or like you said, a receiving tight end. Obviously, the size on the receiving tight end is a little different, but he did a lot of fullback and tight end screens. That's something that Pittsburgh hasn't utilized a whole lot of recently. Maybe this opens up that playbook. Very interesting pick, and I like it.
I have so many thoughts. First off, I'm salty part 2 because I was hoping I could be the first guy. But James swiped it from me again. Oh, look, balloons. It's celebrating my saltiness. And celebrating the pick of Riley Nowakowski to the Steelers. Love what Cody said about his versatility, because I agree. I think this, as much as this is also the Connor Hayward replacement, I think he can fulfill a similar blocking role to what a lot of the chipping Kenneth Gainwell was doing on this team. If you line him up as potentially a fullback, he can throw a chip and block a guy in the passing protection. He can be a special teams contributor right away. He has what I like to call small dog syndrome, in that he's a smaller guy, but he plays way bigger than he is. So, he's got that tenacity. He's got that fight in him. He's got that leverage to go out and just like kind of upheave a guy because he's a little lower center of gravity. So, love this as a late round flyer, because worst case scenario, he doesn't work out. Best case scenario, you've got a Pro Bowler for years on special teams and potentially contributor regularly on the offense, which for a while there, we had a couple guys on special teams who just couldn't contribute in any other phase of the game. And they were just true special teams guys. This is a guy who could be that special teams ace, but also contribute in a meaningful way to the offense.
So on to the 7th round we go here. I'm going over to Oregon for my first pick. And this is going to be my second and final repeat for my first mock draft. So those of you who've been around for a couple weeks or more here or just paid attention to that one, that means this is middle linebacker Bryce Betcher again. I love his tape, man. He is just – he's got a ball magnet in there. He knows right where the ball carrier is at all times. He gets tackles like crazy. He's a tackle machine. He's all over the place, 6'1", 233, 30 and 3/4 inch long arms. He's like that normal everyday linebacker size. I think day one he immediately upgrades your special teams and gives you somebody with the tenacity that you don't mind playing on defense if you need to. Sometimes your special teamers are just not someone you want on defense, kind of like how Miles Killebrew couldn't really find a home on defense, but he was an elite special teamer. I think this is somebody who's very good on defense, but probably would end up also being an elite special teamer. So I'm taking Bryce late here, figuring that room is going to look a lot different at middle linebacker in a year or two than it does now. So you better have some young guys that you add to this group. And I really like his tape. So that's my selection for the first 7th round pick of 3.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this guy, 3 times now because I drafted him too. Thank you, Nick, thank you, James, for showing me this guy. I think the ironic thing is I still feel like we talked about this before with the Patrick Queen thing. Of the question I would have is this a guy that allows you to be comfortable getting rid of Patrick Queen? I don't know if that's the case year one, but this is still a guy that's going to come in and have an immediate impact. Special teams, rotational player. The fact that he can attack the line of scrimmage on screen plays, get through blocks, and still, again, keep the eye on the ball carrier, know where the ball carrier's at while he's engaging and disengaging with blockers is a very, very impressive skill to have and be so good at it. And the fact that he falls this late in the mock draft, I don't personally think he's going to be here. But we'll see what happens. And I would love to get this guy that late because that really shores up that rotational piece in the middle linebacker room.
Well, not only that, but like if you get him on special teams, that would relieve Peyton Wilson. We talked about that last season of how Peyton Wilson would be out there for special teams and then he'd be gassed and then trying to go and do his job. And we saw a significant play difference when he was taking out of special teams versus when he was just doing his middle linebacker job. And so, I mean, he still did great. Like we love Peyton Wilson, but to relieve some of that off of him, I think would allow us to see his true full potential as a middle linebacker and still getting rotational snaps and experience and right from the get-go. So
to highlight Cody's point and expound upon it a little bit, this guy also provides you if you don't get rid of Patrick Queen, he gets to sit behind Patrick Queen for a year. And then perhaps next year you move on from Patrick Queen and this guy slides right into the role, fulfilling that same prophecy we've been discussing, draft your need ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So that way we can get that guy in the room, get him learning behind a guy who's done it at that level, who's done it at an elite level at the NFL level, and who can coach up the things that might not be there right now, but that could be there in the future. So you get a guy who's already got the tenacity, already got the play style, get him refining that technique for a year, sitting behind a vet, and then next year potentially a starter, home run pick if it works out that way.
So staying in the 7th round here, I'm going to move on to my next pick here. Pittsburgh's got 3 of them in the 7th round. We're going to pick number 230. Pittsburgh loves bloodlines. I feel like you kind of have to predict at least one bloodline guy in your mock because they're probably going to do it, especially with 12 selections. No, Nick's covering his head. Hopefully this wasn't one of his guys too, but we're going to find out in a second here. I'm going to Youngstown State and taking Mike Tomczak's son, Max Tomczak, who has played wide receiver down there at Youngstown State, put some good film on the board. He's 5'10 and 7/8, 194 pounds, ran a 4.5, 140. He's got a little bit of return experience as well, but put up a nice resume there for the Penguins, apparently the Youngstown State Penguins. Such an intimidating mascot there. But he's got good play. He knows what it takes to be a professional. His dad was a starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers at one point in time during his career. And I think this would be a nice addition to that roster there as a true professional guy, a guy that really knows his route running, where he's supposed to be on the field. And if you need him to do some punt return or kick return duty in a pinch, he can do that for you as well.
It's a sigh of relief from over here because it's not the guy I was thinking of. So, but love a return man this late, and that's the only thoughts I had.
You know, he is a flightless bird apparently, but he is performing very well in downfield throws. He likes. I mean, right now he's fighting for a jump ball. He seems like he's fairly quick, and his body. He's already mangled his body in different ways to make catches so far. So I like to see that. A lot of these guys who are going to fight for chances have to play in preseason, and you're not always getting pretty balls thrown to you the same way you get starters thrown to you. So his ability to kind of finagle his body in different ways to make catches is impressive. But again, bloodline, Pittsburgh loves it. Good pickup here. The Youngstown State Penguin boy comes in and be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Listen, I love a penguin. That's my favorite animal. So I'm here for a penguin. That's great. No, but I really like the route running piece, like being clean with his route running and knowing where to be on the field for a play at this late round, I think is a gem.
I love how in the highlights here, one of these clips was actually against Mercyhurst University, which is a local university here in Erie, Pennsylvania. So kind of interesting to see that some of this is actually small school going against local competition here. Yeah, you see this score 14-7 going against Mercyhurst and him beating them deep. So fun nonetheless. My final selection at pick number 237 is a guy I have briefly mentioned on the show before, but not mocked. When you're at the final pick in the 7th round, you're looking for lump of clay guys, right? I don't know how this is not somebody who's higher on draft boards, so I'm guessing some of the tape is not that great because his frame and size is. Out of Georgia, I'm talking guard Micah Morris. He's 6'5" and 7/8, 344 pounds. Yes, he's an actual moving mountain on the field. 33 and 5/8 inch on the length, 509 on the 40-yard dash, which is impressive for a 344-pound guy. That is moving for a guy that big. 29 reps on the bench. He's a people mover. He is enormous. I'm guessing there's got to be some stuff that needs cleaned up as far as his footwork and his hand technique and that sort of thing. Otherwise, there's no reason for someone of this size, of these measurables, of this athleticism to be available this late in the draft. But everything I have seen has had him as either like a late day 3 or an undrafted type guy. Don't let him go undrafted. Take him with your final pick. Bring him into Pittsburgh, and let's see if we can develop this guy. If he's a Spencer Anderson as his worst-case scenario, then you've got a fantastic selection. But I think with his size, if you were to use him as an additional, 6th offensive lineman, he's moving people a lot easier than Spencer Anderson did. So I'm excited to learn more about him through the process, and I would love to have him with our offensive line coaches to have an opportunity to try to develop a guy like this, because that's what our offensive line coach does. That's what he did his entire career in Green Bay, was take mid to late round draft picks and develop into high quality starters. So let's give him somebody who's got all the measurables you could possibly ask for in a guard, and let's throw him in there and see what he can do.
Well, and especially with the guard position, I feel like that's one of those positions that's so hard to come by unless you're in the draft. And so to take it now where you can develop him into a starter, like we've said multiple times in this show, you can't coach size, but you can coach the technique. And so to give him the chance to be coached up and have, future offensive linemen, starting offensive linemen now is, I think, a brilliant decision in the 7th round and quite the steal. Cause then you're not looking for free agency, or if Broderick Jones doesn't work it, you're not trying to fill those missing pieces with big money contracts.
Yeah. Big guy, big lump of clay, big lump of clay. See what he can do. Bring him in. Worst case scenario, you get nothing out of him. But again, in a draft with 12 picks, take a shot at somebody. Take a shot.
Big man move defender.
I like it. So that is our my second mock draft of the season. So if you have any comments, any questions, please tag them in the link below there. We'd love to hear from you on yours. Why don't you guys kind of wrap us up? I want to say somebody posted on one of our recent ones their mock draft. So I'm going to see if I can find that real quick before we wrap up, if you guys want to buy me a second here.
Yeah, obviously, next week is going to be Jill's last 2.0 mock draft, and then Nick is getting the last one. Nick, the downfall of going last is you're going to be limited with the choices that can be original. Obviously, I didn't help. I helped in that scenario, but again, I will be at the draft in Pittsburgh. If anyone wants to come and hit us up on social media, I'll happily meet with you guys and say hi. The other thing, Jill, the question for you is, how was the parking for the home opener with them taking 4,000 parking spots for the draft?
So I was going to say, I meant to talk about that at the beginning of the show, because they are making the stage huge. Like, I saw pictures of it and I was like, oh, that's cool. But I'm like, the actual pictures of it were, I mean, like, the actual scene was crazy. Super awesome. I saw the countdown and everything. Like, that was awesome. I really enjoyed seeing that. Parking was actually not that bad. They only had half of like the lot open. So there was still some spots that you could get to. I thought there was going to be more road closures, but it was just that part of the lot that was closed. So
gotcha.
So if you're heading down to the North Shore, get down there early and go find Cody, snap some pictures. We'll have to happily share them on our socials. And if you have thoughts on any of these mock drafts, drop them in the comments. We'll talk about them.
Yes. What, did you find?
Speaking of,
I found it on YouTube. I'm trying to be better about this. So on YouTube, user 43DMB, I don't know if that's Dave Matthews Band 43, clearly a Troy Polamalu shout out. He said he would love for the Steelers to draft in the first round Cooper. I'm assuming that's the wide receiver there. In the second round, Rutledge, who I ended up going with in my mock here. Harold Perkins, the middle linebacker, in the third round. Tafe in the third. Jacoby Lane also in the third. Chris McClellan in the fourth. Keegan Trost in the fourth. Zane Durant in the fifth. That's the nose tackle out of Penn State. Emmanuel Henderson Jr. in the sixth. Riley Nowakowski, again, another one of mine from this mock. In the seventh, Namdi Obayazor, and then Riley Mullman also in the seventh. Appreciate the shout out there. If any of you want to join him in our comments section and putting your mock draft in there, we're going to shout them out. So feel free to do so.
And user, if any of those end up hitting, we're going to give you a secondary shout out, because James keeps track of all these things. So if you end up hitting on one of those picks, we'll be shouting you out again. So thank you for the comments. And again, if anybody else has comments or a mock draft, drop them down below. Share them on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you find our podcast. So speaking of, we cannot thank you enough for listening to us here at Draft Your Needs Ahead of Time by the Lake. If you could, please leave a comment on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. Does not cost you a thing. It does help us out very much. And leave those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Make James and the rest of us very happy. And until next time, these are your hosts, James, Jill, Cody, and Nick, signing off.
Peace.